like, okay, this is something you know. How about solving a problem like this? Minus 3x equals 9. Is this something that you think you understand or have seen before?
Mm-mm.
No idea.
We hadn't gotten to the,
Okay,
what's
so
it
you
called yet?
okay, so you mentioned fractions. I just keep clearing the screen because I want to make sure I know. I mean, something pretty basic, but again, if you haven't done math in a while, is like a comparison, greater than, less than, or equal to. Is this the type of question that you're seeing or you're unsure about?
No, not that one.
Okay, so I just need a little help here because I don't know where to start. Given a couple of options here, I don't want to go off in some direction that isn't very helpful to you. Could you text over some problems or something from your last class to best help me to get started here today?
I look and see if I can remember the last thing that I did.
Or just something recent, it doesn't have to be the last class, just something that or you've looked at that we can create a lesson around here in the time we've got. And while you're doing that, I'm going to look up some GED practice materials because I don't know what is available. I work with the students that do a lot of test prep stuff, but this one I don't have as many things just right off the top of my head. So let me look here. All right, so here's a question, a GED type question. Let me see, I'll snip this in and we can take a look at that. Okay, so this is a question that I found. It says a phone company charges $2 for the first 5 minutes of a phone call and 30 cents per minute thereafter. If Bill makes a phone call that lasts 25 minutes, what will be the total cost of the phone call? All right, so if you're seeing my screen, hopefully you're seeing this question with me and maybe even have an idea of how to get started here. Any idea how to start something like this?
Hold on, I have to use the calculator. Let's see.
Definitely can use a calculator on this one. There's a couple of key pieces of information here. The first is that it's $2 for the first 5 minutes. Okay, now we're used to cell phone plans where there's unlimited
It's
everything.
$8, isn't it?
How did you come up with that? Yes.
20 minus 5 and 30 cents times 20 and then plus 5.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, so this is a test question that you already know how to answer. That's fantastic. Now I skipped the first question. Let me grab this question here. I skipped this one because it's more algebra based, and my guess is this is something that will be a little bit foreign to you, but let's take a look at it anyway. It says, which of the following expressions is equivalent to 3x times 2 plus 5y? Okay. And if you're not sure how to start this is a distributive property problem. And you don't need to know that, but you need to know, oh, I need to give this 3x to both of these.
I've done all this before. I just don't remember it because it was a week ago.
Good. Okay. So let me show this in steps here. So it's 3x times 2 plus 3x times 5y. So let's take a look at the first term there, the 3x plus 2. I'm sorry, 3x times 2. When you have something like this, you multiply the numbers together. So 3 times 2 gives you 6, 6x. Okay. And notice that eliminates at least answer A as an example here.
It would be the last one, right?
It's the last one, yeah. All right. So what I can do now, and this is where students, they often ask me for, they're like, hey, can you give me one like it? So I can give you one like it here and have you try it on your own without the multiple choice. But I'm going to just change this up a little bit here. So let me let me remove this. Let's make it 2y times 4x plus 3. So could you, if you've got pen and paper handy, could you distribute and tell me what the result is when you multiply 2y times 4x plus 3?
Would it be 8xy plus 6y?
Perfect. Yeah, good. Fantastic. Okay. So that's great. Like where we kind of started the conversation, I was very concerned that there was almost like going back to the beginning. I think you actually know a lot more than I was led to believe here. So this is good news. So here's a new question. It says, if y equals 3ab plus 2b to the power of 3, what is y when a equals 1 and b equals 2? So this problem is asking you to take the values of a and substitute them back in for a. So
Mm.
and the same thing for b, but you have to do that in two places, there and then there. Now, whenever the letters are squeezed together like this, you're multiplying. So it's 3 times 1 times 2 plus 2 times 2 to the power of 3. Does this also look familiar to you?
Mhm.
Awesome. So this is now an order of operations problem. Now, depending on the calculator you have, it could do this for you, or you may have to do some of the work on your own. Do you know what kind of calculator you're allowed to use on this test?
It's like a scientific calculator. They give you one that's on the screen when you take the test.
Okay, so they
But you can only
probably,
use them after the first, I think the first like 5 to 10 questions, you can't use them, and then they give it to you for the rest.
got it, got it. Yeah, so this one you have to be able to do on your own. So order of operations says that you will first evaluate the exponent.
Yeah.
So that is 2 to the power of 3. What that means, I'll just write that off to the right here. It's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And on the left here, you can multiply or you can wait, but you multiply before you add. So the order of operations, you probably saw this before, PEMDAS, and really they're grouped though. They're grouped in such a way where you add and subtract, multiply and divide. So you do exponents before multiplying and dividing. In this case, you're going to multiply before you add. 3 times 1 times 2 is 6, plus 16 is 22. Any questions on this one? Because I'd like to give you one like this to try on your own. Okay, so now let's do it. Let's say that A is 2 and B is 1. Okay, so I'd like you to work this out on your own for A being 2 and B equaling 1.
I need to.
And if you have questions on this, please ask. I'd be happy to help talk you through it. All right, so it's kind of the same question, but definitely have this. You try this on your own. It's got two different values for A and B. Let me know if you have questions. Be happy to help if needed.
Is it 8?
It is 8, yeah. Very good. I'll just write out the steps here in case you want to look at them later, but that's fantastic. 6 plus 2 is 8. It's very good. All right, so I got a new question that I think would be good for us to look at. Let me snip that in. All right, so here we go. All right, this question says that Emma needs to order liquid fertilizer for her landscaping company. She plans to keep the fertilizer in a large cylindrical storage tank, but isn't sure how much it will hold. The tank is 10 feet tall and the circular base has a radius of 5 feet. What is the volume of her tank? So there's a key word here, and that it's a cylindrical tank. There's a couple of different ways you can present a cylinder. One is on its side. The other is the can. If you go to the grocery store, obviously there's tons of cans like that. Doesn't really matter. You need to know the formula for a cylinder. The formula for a cylinder is pi r squared h. And I'm sure you've seen that before, but maybe not in a while.
No, I haven't gotten to geometry whatsoever yet.
Okay, this is not a difficult problem though, once you know the formula. So the key to some of this test, the key to doing well on some of these test questions is just knowing certain formulas, certain volumes in this case. Okay. Now the tank is 10 feet tall. All right, so that's the height. The height is 10. The radius is 5 feet. Okay, so to answer this question, you simply have to substitute those numbers into the formula, 5 squared for the radius and the height of 10. All right. Now, since you said you hadn't gotten to that, we'll just leave it at that. But
What does
definitely
that sign at the beginning mean? The square thing.
the pi here.
Yeah.
This is the Greek letter pi. It's on your calculator. It's approximated by 3.14.
What does that
And
do with the other things? What do you use that for with this?
it's a constant that has to be in the formula. So a long time ago,
So
some
does that
oh,
just mean when you do the stuff in the parentheses first and then you multiply it by 3.14?
yes,
Okay.
yes, that's it. Nothing more complicated than that. So if you want, you can calculate that. The calculator on the screen will have a pi button for you, but
Because I've done finding a couple questions where they have finding the pi of numbers, like for algebra. So I didn't
yes.
know if that meant it was just like pi the number, or if it was finding the pi, whatever the answer was to all the other stuff.
Yeah, in this case, it's just a number.
Okay.
It's approximated by this. So I'll try to stick to algebra stuff here. So I've got another question we can look at whenever you're ready. I'll take that as a yes that you are ready.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is kind of like the previous problem we did, except you're not supposed to distribute anymore. So when you factor, it's very different than distributing. Now, have you covered factoring yet in any of your classes?
A little bit factoring is one of the things I didn't understand.
Okay. Do you see right away that both of these have a 3x plus 2 in them?
Yeah.
So since they're both there, I'll just show you how to work through this problem. There, you can bring it out of both. Okay, that's the factoring part. And then whatever is left over, meaning the stuff that you didn't factor out, the 4y and the -2, those go into the other parentheses here. So these, and this is a more complicated one than I would start with if we were working on just factoring, but I'm just kind of going around and finding different problems today. Would you like me to give you one like this or try to find another type of problem for us to work on?
Another one like that, because I'm still not sure what does it, what if
Yes.
everything is different in the question?
That's a
Would
good
it not be
question.
able to be factored?
Yeah, it would not be like that though. So it would be something like this: 2y times 5x minus 2 plus 3 times 5x minus 2. And it would say to factor. The instructions would say factor.
So they don't really do, they don't really give you factor questions that you can't factor.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't sound very fair to me to ask you to do something that's impossible.
I just wasn't sure if there was even a way to factor other things or if it always was like this.
Well, sometimes they're disguised, but I don't think that's the intent of this test. This test, I think, is more about like just here, do you know the fundamentals of algebra? Do you know the fundamentals of geometry? And I don't think they're trying to make this any more difficult than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this problem here, you would factor out the 5x minus 2 from both terms. And then in this other parentheses, you would write what is left over. So see how the 2y and the 3 are left over?
Mhm.
Sorry about that. Put that back there. Okay, so in this other set of parentheses, it would be 2y plus 3. So let me give you another one to try here. Let's say it's 4x x minus 1 minus 1 times x minus 1.
So
Try
that one would be x minus 1 and then another parentheses with 4x minus 1.
perfect. Yeah, excellent. Okay, have
And
you
is that the end of factoring? Do you just put it like that, or do you have to solve after like
yes,
what's the word
you would
simplifying?
you're asking if you should multiply, and the answer is no, like you're done. This is the final answer.
You don't
The
simplify it?
No,
Okay.
it depends on the way the answer space is presented. So I didn't snip in the answers, but they were all in this factored form. But
Okay.
you're asking good questions. Now, if this said equals zero, there's more to do. But not in this problem. Like this is complete. Okay, so let's look at some absolute value. This is just another topic. Lots of topics here. All right, so it says if a equals -4 and b equals 3, what is the absolute value of a minus b? Any idea how to start here on this one?
Wouldn't it be 1 because isn't anything an absolute value just always a positive or
That
something?
is so what here's what
It's
you're
just
saying, and
always that number.
you're
I
correct.
can't
Like
remember.
if it's the absolute value of 7, it's 7. If it's the absolute value of -7, it's 7. If it's
Okay.
the value of -2, it's 2. But the problem is this is a little bit deceptive. There's actually parentheses implied inside the absolute value. So what you have to know is that you have to first do the operation in there, the subtraction, and then take the absolute value. So if you follow what I'm saying, we're going to take this value of -4 and we're going to put it in for a. And then we're going to take this value of 3 and put that value in for b.
So would it be 7?
It is 7, yeah. Good. All right, so I got another question here that I think would be good for us to look at. This is I would call it a pre-algebra question. It's not really there's no equations or anything. Let me snip this in. All right, so it says if 10 inches on a map represents an actual distance of 100 feet, then what actual distance does 25 inches on the map represent? Any idea how to do this?
Would it be 250?
Yes, it would. Good.
All the other ones are just too low of numbers.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was a great question, but it's
But
certain.
I'm assuming it's like each inch you would like divide it and each inch would be like,
Yeah, I mean, the way I would tell you to do this if you were taking a more difficult standardized test is to write out the ratio and then write the new number, and you say, well, how do I go from 10 to 25? And the answer is you multiply by 2.5, which is exactly what you did. So you multiply 100 feet by 2.5 to get 250 feet. Okay, so this is the place where we're kind of at the end of our try it out lesson. It's about a half hour with a little time at the end just to discuss, unless you
Okay.
wanted to commit to more. But let me go ahead and stop the recording here.